What's the greatest misconception about Nirvana?
About Nirvana?
Yeah.
That it was a bummer.
Right.
Because it wasn't always a bummer. There were times where it was so outrageously hilarious and fun.
I was the quiet one in Nirvana. I was the drummer. But most of you don't know that I was the 5th drummer of Nirvana.
How do you meet Kurt Cobain and form Nirvana with him? Although you were the 6th drummer in the band.
Yeah,
right?
I came later.
Why did they go through 5 other drummers before they came to find you?
They were a funny band, you know. I think they hadn't really found the right drummer yet.
You're out of the house, you're on the road with Scream, you and 2 high school buddies, and you're out on the West Coast, and you get an invitation to try out with this band Nirvana, which had already had an album out. They were a big deal, at least among musicians.
The singer Buzz said, "Well, have you ever heard of Nirvana?" And I said, "Of course."
Nirvana had made a record that somehow successfully mixed classic rock and roll with dissonant punk rock, and it was brilliant.
Buzz said, "Well, they're looking for a drummer, and they came to see you play a few weeks ago, and they said, if we could get a drummer like that, that's the drummer that we need." And I knew that if I were the drummer of this band, that it would be good.
But going to the tryout means leaving your 2 best buddies who you went on this adventure with. That's a really hard choice for people.
Yeah.
You call your mother. What advice did she give you?
Once again, Mom comes
Mom
through.
comes
I'm telling
through.
you, I mean, she is a constant in this book.
This changed your life, this decision.
It did. I didn't know what to do because I was at a crossroads. And I said, I'm torn. I don't know what to do. And she said, "You know, sometimes in life, you have to do what's best for you." She Western Unioned $120, and I flew up to Seattle, and I never went back. I remember getting off the plane and Chris and Kurt meeting me at baggage claim. It was like having Children of the Corn pick you up from the airport. When I came up to Seattle, Nirvana was doing a show with another drummer. I get there to this Nirvana show. There's about 1,200 people, and maybe 15 of them looked like they were punk rockers. The rest of them were trailer park kids with greasy long hair, wearing clothes that they bought at Fred Meyer or the Salvation Army. They were flannels. It already felt like there was some sort of movement, but it was unintentional. And these people just gathered or were drawn to this thing because it just sounded like they felt. And the energy was different than anything I'd ever seen. He wrote these really, really simple songs, and he's a great lyricist. His objective was really like make the song as catchy and memorable and simple as possible.
Did he allow you any feedback in the writing process? I mean, here you are, a great songwriter.
We wouldn't even talk about it. We would just go in the room and he'd start playing something and we'd just play along, and then it would become a song. We wouldn't say like, that chorus needs to be twice as long and in a different
You
key.
wouldn't question him. So he was the leader of that band.
The idea was not even to talk about music, to keep it as pure as possible.
Did you ever say to Kurt, listen, I've got great songs?
No.
You would not do that.
You never let him hear anything you wrote?
He heard some, and he liked a couple of them. There were 2 that he really liked, he wanted to do, but he was afraid to ask me if he could change the lyric. And there was one time where I recorded something that I was really proud of. And I'm like, man, I recorded this song. I had a studio in my basement. I played it for Kurt, and he was really excited about it. And he liked the riff and the melody, but he didn't really like the lyric. And so, but he was sort of, he didn't want to ask if he could change the lyric because he didn't want to, like offend me or something. Which of course I would have said like, fuck, dude.
Yeah,
take it.
do your thing,
Fuck
man.
it, do your thing. It'll be great.
But then we didn't do anything with them because Kurt's songs were always better. So it was like,
think of your songs?
he liked them. He liked a few of them. Some of them he didn't really like. He liked some of them, and But it's difficult because when you're in a band with someone like Kurt, he's such a great songwriter that you don't want to pollute anything. You're like, okay, well everything's is going really well,
one of Kurt's amazing abilities was not just that he was a great lyricist, but he had a really specific kind of signature melodic turn of phrase. So he always braided really two simple lines together, I think, in a way that was almost unpredictable. And he would go from like maybe a gentle voice to a scream, or maybe a minor key to a major, but he would do it in this way that was like really beautifully patterned, which I always thought was really cool and really simple. Ultimately, at most everything that he did.
Did it frustrate you that Kurt Cobain had that much? I mean, here you are, you're a bit of a control freak. You have all of these songs inside of you. And then Kurt Cobain.
Not describing you.
How did you function in that band?
It was great.
But it's almost like being George Harrison. George Harrison had great songs. The Beatles made him only have one song on an album. Kurt wouldn't let you have any...
but he was in a band with Lennon and McCartney, and I was in a band with Kurt. So it's that famous joke, like, what's the last thing the drummer said before he got kicked out? I got a song I think we should play.
Yeah, right.
You can't. And I was perfectly happy because I was like disco drumming. I was just going doosh dash doosh doosh dash.
I was in a band with the greatest songwriter of our generation. And all I had to do was play the drums like it was the last day of my life. So I did.
When most people think about Nirvana, they think about a video or a song on the radio. But to me, it was a really personal experience with some friends that went from sleeping on floors to then being the #1 band on the charts.
It's really early in the morning. I think it's about 8:30 or something, or 9. And I haven't been asleep yet.
Kurt and I wouldn't go to sleep until 9 o'clock in the morning as the sun was coming up. And we'd wake up at 4 in the afternoon as it was going down in this tiny little apartment where I slept on a couch that's half as long as me with turtles in this aquarium that Kurt had built.
Kurt had an amazing sense of humor, and Chris Novoselic, if you've ever spent time with him, is one of the funniest people you've ever met. But it's just sort of like, it's kind of like living in a loud, distorted version of Monty Python. And so when it gets dark, it gets fucking dark. But when it's not, it's
like
fucking hilarious. Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I think most people imagine that it was just like, fuck, all the time. And it just wasn't. There were times that were really great.
There's this one, we were on tour in Chicago, and Kurt had been chopping at my drums all tour, and my drums had holes in them. And they sounded like crap because there were holes in them. They didn't sound good. And I kept asking our tour manager, could I please get a new drum set? And this is before we were playing big places, we were in clubs. He's like, let's wait another week. And he chopped more holes, and wait another week. And so finally I said to Kurt, at the Metro in Chicago, I said, hey man, at the end of the gig, we have to smash my drum set to splinters because I need a good one, a real one. The guitars, man, we spent half an hour breaking those drums. And we told the audience, we said, you can go home, it's all good. And
we're just gonna break all this.
Yeah.
The concert's over, so give us a minute.
And then the next day, the drum place was closed. And I was just like,
oh my God.
The thing that I loved so much about the underground punk rock music scene was its independence. And all of these people were doing it themselves. So there were no real big record companies. You would just, go to a studio down the street and pay a couple $100 and record a couple songs and then send that to the pressing plant, and they'd make some albums, and then you'd Xerox a copy for the cover and then stuff it in the sleeve and go sell it to the local record store and consign it. Like, it worked that way.
we came from this underground punk rock scene where there really were no awards or ceremonies or trophies. It was all about doing it for real, and the reward was doing it right and doing it for real and sharing the community of music, helping other musicians. And
I'm happy that I got to experience those few years in Seattle where the city just exploded.
The experiences that I had at that age, which is a really impressionable age, shaped so much about the person that I am now.
And I would drive around the hills in Hollywood and try to imagine who lived in these houses, and what they did and how they got there. And having grown up in a house the size of a, milk truck, it's like I would look at these places and think like, God, I wonder what it's like. I wonder what it's like to survive comfortably doing something that you love to do.
Yeah.
And there was a really specific moment where I realized it was no longer that same audience that you played to a year ago. It's growing. We were so deep in the middle of it that it was hard to really foresee what was going to happen or, be any sort of judge of it. But our friends were all telling us, this is going to be huge.
Yeah.
This is going to be huge. I'm like, really? Think so? This is going to be huge.
So when you're young and you start playing music, you're just in love with the sound and you're in love with the puzzle and the mystery and how to do it and learning to do it yourself, right? You're listening to top 40 radio. You're listening to these huge bands that have sold millions of records, and then as I became like a punk rock kid, the punk rock underground was kind of like ethically suffocating. You were conditioned to reject any sort of commerciality or conformity, any sort of like top 40 radio, things like that.
Up until that point, it really was always living paycheck to paycheck to paycheck, right? And it was on tour, just trying to get to the next show without a flat tire, with enough gas in the thing. And we were just young, there wasn't a lot of introspection. It was like, wait, that stripper has a motorcycle. Can I borrow that for a second? And then you just like start driving around the Hollywood Hills, I think I was 22 years old or something. It just didn't seem real. It was like, when you're young and your parents go away and you're at home alone and you like play house.
Yeah.
In a strange way, this was like us playing rock band. The first thing we wanted to do when put in a situation like this was just like, okay, how could we destroy this? This was a pretty incredible time for not just us, but for music, because there was something happening. It was like something was about to pop.
So then when your band becomes popular, like, what do you do? Like, how do you reconcile those two things? Or how do you justify that, Because most musicians feel some sort of guilt. Like you said, you use the word sellout. Like, what happens when the songs that you've written are loved by everyone? I mean, do you run away from it because everyone loves it? Now you're a top 40 band and you've sold millions of records. How do you deal with that? A lot of people feel this sense of guilt or shame. Like, oh no, I'm too popular. Or, oh no, we've sold too many records. I didn't want the world to know about this little secret.
The problem with Nirvana was that Kurt's songs were so good that we were raised in that scene where it was our secret. But then all of a sudden, we become one of them. Like, what do you do? Okay, now millions of people are singing your song.
Nirvana's energy, in a strange way, was kind of like this bomb that was about to go off all the time. It was sort of like this thing just seemed like it could pop at any moment. And that was the energy, and it was insular, and it was just like...
And it's difficult. I mean, it's one of the things that really affected Nirvana. None of us ever thought that we were going to be this gigantic band. We were perfectly comfortable in our little corner of the underground, doing it the way we'd always done it. But unfortunately, Kurt's songs were so good that millions and millions of people connected to it. And so you could either see it as a blessing or a celebration, or you could see it as some sort of curse.
I was living with my buddy Barrett in this room in the back of the house, knowing that I could have bought every house on the street, but I didn't want it to change,
How did you do up there?
I was the kid with long hair in my face behind drums that looked like washing machines, and I could walk in the front door of a Nirvana gig and not really get noticed. So I didn't have to suffer a lot of the pressures that Kurt did as the front man. When I was in Nirvana, I was the drummer.
And I don't even think you could see my face. I had so much hair as I was pounding the drums. Like, you know, I was practically anonymous in that band. I could almost walk through the front door of a gig and not be recognized. I didn't have to bear the weight of the responsibility of being, you know, the front person of the band, which was difficult on Kurt, especially when you're sort of rising out of that underground scene and becoming one of the biggest bands in the world. It's hard, so you have to kind of remind yourself of the reasons why you started in the first place. You have to remind yourself of the kid on the bedroom floor with the Beatles records, and that's the core. That's who you are. And if the world starts singing along with your songs, you know, I think you have to appreciate that in a way. When your band becomes successful and popular, as quickly as it happened to Nirvana, that's a really difficult path to navigate. And there's no specific skills or skill set or tools to deal with something like that. You have to really kind of hold on and hope that you make it through. I mean, still to this day, whenever I see a new artist that's young, that blows up and becomes gigantic overnight, I kind of get worried for him. I don't think anybody's cut out for it.
One of the pioneers behind the sound known as grunge is gone.
Kurt Cobain, the lead singer of the enormously popular rock band Nirvana, is dead.
The lead singer of Nirvana, one of the world's most popular rock bands, has been found dead at his home in Seattle.
Kurt Cobain's body was found inside a garage apartment adjacent to his Seattle home.
Police said Kurt Cobain had apparently shot himself and a suicide note was found nearby.
Police found what is said to be a suicide note at the scene, but have not yet divulged its contents. Cobain, who was 27, had reportedly been missing for about 6 days, according to his mother.
Nirvana, heart-shaped box.
Well, I'm not the most vocal person in the world, but it'd be silly to say that it doesn't feel like there's something missing. And I think about Kurt every day. And I'd like to thank everybody for paying attention to our band. Thanks.
Does it ever talk about it at all? Yeah. I mean, don't you think it would? Then why would you even ask? Passing. Yeah. Maybe enough time has passed. Well, no, it's... I don't know. I don't talk about it to people I don't really know. So there's got to be a line drawn between your personal life and this, you know, this is all fun, being in a rock band and being on TV, it's cool and everything, but...
Usually every journalist's job is to get the scoop. Every journalist wants the scoop. Every journalist wants to get the quote. And usually they don't have any respect for the person that they're interviewing. It's a very selfish thing. Like, I'm here to pull as much garbage out of this person as I can to make my piece the thing that everyone reads and sees. So, yeah, of course. I mean, still to this day, people ask me questions that they know I'm not about to answer, but still, they'll slip it in here and there, and then ask me why. Like, why won't you talk about it? It's none of your business. It's none of your fucking business. Give me a break. It's so stupid. It's like, say your mom died, okay, and I met you for 5 minutes, and I start asking, well, God, how did you feel after your mother died? And then I go tell everybody. It's absolutely appalling. I think it's just disgusting. So.
How does anyone know? I mean, how does anyone know the way I feel, I mean, I don't sit around and speak in interviews about things that are really deep and personal. I mean, that's just nobody's business. I'm in a band, I play music, people jump around, and hey, that's fun. Rock and roll is like a circus, Look at you go in there and there's 8,000 people and 2 big screen TVs, and it's like, hey, this is the big top, this is the circus. Has nothing, to me, it's totally separate. From when I go home, I have a wife, I have a nice, comfortable living, and it's nice. I mean, I live a really normal life. I don't live this glamorous rock and roll thing, and I like to separate the two.
I mean,
Who tells you your lead singer's gone? I mean, how do you find that out?
I think maybe it was on the news or something weird. I don't know. I don't remember.
Like
exactly
the news,
like you didn't get a call, you just heard it.
I think it happened, and then it just all happened, like, and the phone's off the hook, and
people are calling this and that.
Yeah.
And what do you do that day? You just go into shock. I mean, you can't go
everybody
back
got together. Everybody went over to Chris Novoselic's house and,
hung out.
Hung out.
Because you were there comforting one another.
Yep. It was just such a weird time. And we were kids, I was like 25 years old or something like that.
Yeah.
So it was strange. And I couldn't listen to music. I couldn't listen to Nirvana. Just lost. I went through a really dark period where I couldn't really even listen to the radio because it broke my heart just to hear music. Incredible experience while I was there. And then probably the most devastating time of my life. After Kurt died, I couldn't even listen to music for months. No radio, no TV, nothing. I just couldn't stand the sound of music. I was scared of music.
I was numb and lost. And couldn't listen to music. I couldn't stand to hear someone else saying about their pain or their heartbreak or their joy. So I turned off the radio. I put my instruments away because the music that I had devoted my life to had now betrayed me.
First of all, I didn't really have a plan, like when everything's sort of turned upside down and shaken up like that, you just wake up every day thinking, who am I? Where am I? What am I doing? I remember the day after Kurt died, how strange it felt to wake up knowing that he wasn't with us anymore. And that I had another day, okay, so what am I going to do with today?
Right. When Kurt died, I remember the next day and thinking, I still get to live. So I'm going to live every day like it's my last one. Even if it's the worst day, I'm going to try to appreciate it. And I still feel that way.
It was then that I started to realize, oh, okay, you have to do everything once again. Meaning, okay, I'm going to make a pot of coffee, and this is my first pot of coffee since Kurt's gone. I have to go upstairs and get dressed. This is the first thing I'll wear since Kurt has been gone. And it goes like that.
Was it all good with Kurt? I mean, were you on good terms?
Things got weird towards the end.
So did that make you feel even weirder about his death? Were you sort of estranged?
Yeah. I mean, everybody sort of was. I think at that point it had sort of split off, and it just got really weird.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know if anybody really does, but it had gotten to the point where
he wasn't talking to you.
Well, they were just, I don't do drugs.
Right.
I haven't done drugs since I was a kid.
Right.
20 years old, I think, is when I stopped. And so, there were drugs around. And there was the people who did the drugs, and then there were people that didn't do the drugs. And I didn't do the drugs. And so I was just out of that world, And if you're in it, you're in it. If you're not, you're out.
So in the last couple of months, you hadn't even been in touch with Kurt.
No, we had.
Right.
And but
were you close to breaking up the band anyway? Do you think you guys would have broken up because Kurt was going his own way?
I think at that point it was important that we take a break. I think everybody felt that way. It was time to take a break. I'm still processing Kurt's death, you know, because I have to explain it to my kids who love Nirvana. Because for the longest time, you know, I would try to process and talk about it with friends and family and things like that. I knew what people wanted me to write. I knew what Nirvana fans wanted me to write. I knew what people might expect me to write. And I didn't want to write that. I thought, okay, maybe I'm just going to write about, you know, to try to explain a much more broad piece about loss and mourning and how grief is determined or measured. Like, is it measured by time? Do you feel the loss of someone more if you've known them your entire life, or less if it's in such a short period of time? And I don't think time has anything to do with it. I think it has to do with the depth of the emotional relevance of that relationship. So it was the same with Kurt. Even though we knew each other for a much shorter period of time, the life that we lived in those 3.5 years, I mean, that was almost a lifetime in itself. And so much had changed, and we were young, and it was just this crazy turning point in our lives. And because of everything that had happened in that 3.5 years, it hurt more, you know. And to the idea that there's some people in life that you kind of emotionally prepare yourself to lose, you know, almost like a self-defense mechanism where you kind of build these walls around yourself to feel the pain a bit less when you lose them. But it never works, you know. It doesn't. It's not like some sort of vaccine that will make you immune to pain. It doesn't work that way. So, you know, it was difficult to go back and reflect on everything that had happened, but it felt good to be able to put it on paper because I was working through these things as I was writing them, you know. That I've talked to people close to me about these moments in my life, but not really too much, not deeply in public. When you lose someone, especially in that way, there's just so many questions, you know, you're just left with this void and all of these questions. And I think it's important to rely on the moments that you had, good or bad, to use that lens instead of one that's been kind of focused years later. So
one of the difficulties is that once Kurt died, everybody had to go back and parse through in utero and read lyrics like they're tea leaves leading you somewhere. Yeah. And that feels like a recipe for incredible bullshit and misunderstanding.
I still to this day, if I listen to that record, I'll find things or I'll feel things that I didn't necessarily feel 25 years ago. Not just in light of everything that had happened, but of course that, you know, everything that did happen can, you know, kind of screw the lens a little bit or distort maybe what it felt like before and what it feels like now.
You said you don't remember him as a tortured genius, and I'm the same, but I don't remember my friend as someone that had all this angst. I remember her as someone I had a lot of fun with and someone I could douche around with and this really sweet girl. And you said the same about him. It's just, and I think it's really important to crystallize those memories to almost own the legacy, isn't it? In your own head, if nothing else.
Well, you know, hindsight can be a blurry lens, you know, like as much as sometimes you imagine that you find more clarity over time. sometimes that's not always the case. And, you know, I think that when you lose someone, especially in that way, there's just so many questions, you know, you're just left with this void and all of these questions. And I think it's important to rely on the moments that you had, good or bad.
Yeah.
To use that lens instead of one that's been kind of focused years later. So
there are people out there that have opinions, strong opinions about who he was and what he meant and what you guys meant. And it must just seem surreal to you at times. Like, no, that was our friend. There was three of us. We were in a van together, and it has now become this IMAX projection on the world.
When my kids sometime will ask me, let's say, my daughter Harper and I were driving in the car not long ago, 6 months ago, and a Nirvana song came on. And we don't listen to Nirvana at home. This Nirvana song comes on, she's singing along to the words. And I'm thinking, wow, that's weird. I've never heard her listen to a Nirvana song. How does she know a Nirvana song? And she says, she said, Dad, how old were you when you made this song? I said, God, I think I was like 22, maybe. She goes, oh, how old was Kurt? I said, I guess he was maybe like 23, 24. And she goes, what was he like? And I'd say, well, he was really nice. He was kind of shy, sometimes quiet, but he was cool. And
she goes, get super pissed off.
Yeah. But she says, well, he was shy. Was he shy around people that he knew or people that he didn't know? And I said, well, kind of a little bit of both. And she said, God, that's so strange that someone who feels shy like that could write these songs and sing them for everyone to hear and then stand on stage in front of 100,000 people and play them. I thought that was so cool because I think she wasn't looking so much at that other thing.
Yep.
She was looking at the person, right? And, you know, after Nirvana was over, that curtain got sort of pulled away. It was hard to imagine, you know, making music or joining a band because it was just too painful. So I honestly don't know what I did. It was months and months and months. I do remember at one point thinking, okay, I'm just going to go to Ireland. So I rented a car. I was driving around Ireland, lost. I have no idea where I am. And it felt good. It felt good to just disappear. It felt really good to be away from all of that and just to, you know, just to be alive in this beautiful place. And I was driving down the road and I saw a hitchhiker.
Here I was in the middle of nowhere, and I saw Kurt's face looking right back at me. And it was in that moment that I thought, okay, I have to go home and get back to work because I'll never outrun this.
Obviously, I was so blessed and honored to have been in that band, but I needed some continuation of life.
The entire time that Nirvana was out making records and playing shows and stuff, I would come home from tours and just write songs in my bedroom and record them in my basement. So when Nirvana ended, you know, at first I didn't want to do anything, of course. I didn't want to join a band. I didn't want to listen to the radio, play music. And then eventually I realized, like, wait, I'm 25 years old. My life is not over.
So I need to celebrate like every day because I'm lucky to be alive. So I thought, all right, I'm going to pick sort of like 12 or 13 of my favorite songs that I've ever recorded and take them to the studio right down the street. So instead of having 15 minutes to make a song, I booked 6 days, which to me was like making the White House. Like that was like forever in a studio. I just went down, we made a bunch of coffee, and I just started blasting through songs. Like first take on the drums, run in, put a couple of guitars over it, put the bass on it. Next song, first take on the drums. It just I was because I didn't think it was going to be like a record. It was more just like fun, you know. I went to the cassette place down the street, said, "Could you make 100 of these?" and made a little card to go in it. Yeah. And I just started giving it out to people. And I called it Foo Fighters because I wanted people to think it was a group. But no, it's weird. Like, you know, when we started, it wasn't even a band. It was just a demo tape I made by myself.
Yeah.
I played all the instruments. I did it in 5 days. I thought it was really fun. Nirvana was over. I didn't have anything to do. I was depressed. And I thought, you know what? Fuck that. I'm going to just go to the studio and record some shit by myself. Recorded it. I made 100 cassettes. I made a little cover for the cassette. I called it Foo Fighters because I didn't want people to think it was me. I wanted it to be like, oh, this new band is really cool, when really it was just one person.
And there was never any thought that you were going to do, Dave, as kind of a solo project.
No.
It was always going to be a band.
No. I mean, yes, it was always going to be a band, but I couldn't. I'd just be the biggest buffoon if I was a solo artist. It would just be the most ridiculous thing you'd ever seen in your life.
But it was also tough, too, because, you know, one of the things about starting this band was it was time to keep moving, you know? And after something like that happens, it's like you don't know how to recover from something like that. There's no textbook to help you through something as tragic and horrific as that. So
and it's public.
Well, yeah, and so it was just time to keep playing. You know, I'd been in bands a long time before that. I wasn't ready to give up music. You know, and there were times where I really felt like it. It was hard to listen to music, because I would just associate it with the death of a good friend of mine.
It wasn't just like starting a band. It wasn't just like putting some guys together with instruments. It was a bit more emotionally, it was a bit more emotional than that. It was a continuation of life. You know, Pat and I had been in Nirvana. Our drummer William and our bass player Nate had been in a band that had ended prematurely, and so we were young and we were not finished playing music. But more than that, we just needed something to look forward to. We needed something to like get us through life. And if you think of it that way, then every day you wake up and you really appreciate that you have this. I feel so fortunate that I'm alive and that I'm in the Foo Fighters and I get to share this with all of my friends.
The impetus, like, to create some stuff was not stemming at all from Kurt's death, but it was actually stemming from the fact that Nirvana broke up. It was just to keep going, isn't that it?
Well, it's just that I'd been in bands since I was 14 years old, and it was what I loved doing. It's what I'd done all my life, and I love to write music. I love to perform. I love to go on tour for a certain amount of time, and so it was just basically just missing the life that I'd lived for 10 years, and then all of a sudden you're sitting at home with absolutely nothing to do until you just get off your ass and do something, you know?
So there's that. But then also, you know, I wanted us to be a band, you know? When they first found out that we had started this new band, they immediately wanted to do interviews. I'm like, there's nothing to fucking talk about yet, you know? Like, we've only practiced 6 times, and, you know, I don't have any funny, like, what's the craziest shit happened on tour stories. So it was like, let us be a band for a while, you know?
But when you have a band, of 4 people, I think they should be considered a unit. It shouldn't be the 3 guys with this one person out in front. I don't believe in that really at all. I don't.
And I had my ass sitting in a drum stool for 10 years, you know, and now I get to stand up.
Well, like, were you worried about the fact that, like, I mean, you were seen as a drummer and you suddenly had to go out front? I mean, was it scary?
I mean, it still is. It's horrifying. Have you ever done it?
No.
It's so...
I've never drummed.
Terrible. Well, drumming is all right because you can sort of hide behind these big tubs and head down and just... But when you have nothing but this little microphone stand in front of you, I'm almost skinny enough that I can hide behind it, but there's you know, and everybody looks at you like, okay, let's see some charisma, I want some humor, I want some banter in between songs, and you know, it's really scary.
I think that in Nirvana I had a lot of freedom because that was just the drummer, and I could just go completely crazy back behind everything, and it made it better, you know. In this band I have to sort of have some level of restraint or control, you know, and I take this very seriously. Like, I take the music that we make very, very seriously. As much as when we play, we sort of seem like we're just goofing around.
I love playing, you know, and I had my ass sitting in a drum stool for 10 years, you know, and now I get to stand up. So damn right I'm gonna jump around as much as I can, you know. I mean, we're no symposium, don't get me wrong.
Okay, well then, what about, was there any resentment from people at all, thinking like, wait a minute, you know?
I think so, but no one ever had the balls to come to my face and say, you know what, you're a real bastard for just getting up and starting another band. Like, you're supposed to be this brooding, we never want to see your face again, except for those old live photos where they're all black and white and blurry, and you know.
You were going to be in a band that was going to get more attention than your average band who were only around for a month.
This is true.
Right.
And we realized that, like, we knew that, you know, that people were going to want to talk to us, and people were going to give us this special attention because of the bands that we had been in or whatever. But that, I mean, there was nothing we could do. I mean, there's not, and I mean, of course, I feel fortunate that I'm able to sit and do an interview that people are going to watch. I mean, I'd be a fool to think, you know, God damn it, this is such a drag that everybody comes to see our band play. It's, you know, I'd be a fucking liar if I said that.
Yeah, because the hardest thing is, the greatest thing about this band is that it's a new band and we're looking towards the future, and it's nice because we have so many things to look forward to. And most of the interviews I do, people just ask about Nirvana. So it's like, I'm trying to look towards the future and I'm trying to like move ahead, but people always like pull me back, you know. So that's the hardest thing, and mainly it's in interviews, like where people will ask one question about the Foo Fighters, and then Nirvana, you know, and then they ask all these Nirvana questions, and it's like, you know, Nirvana was fun, and it was, you know, it was great, but it's gone, you know, and so this is what I'm trying to focus on. Like,
being in Nirvana was great, and I had a lot of fun, and it was the best thing that ever happened in my life. But it's over, and, you know, I mean, Nirvana, to a lot of people, Nirvana was this thing, I don't even know. To me, it was a band with 2 friends of mine. To other people, it was this important voice of this lost generation. And to me, it was just, you know, a couple people.
To watching them throw it all away, you know? And I write something like that, and I look at it, and I go, God damn it, I'm gonna have to answer that question a
sounds like
thousand times.
That's what it sounds like, and the lyrics.
But can you imagine that in my life, how many people I've loved or lost or befriended?
I didn't think that at all when I heard
I
the
knew
song.
when I wrote it, but that's the thing, is like I can't keep this conversation from. I can't let this conversation keep me from writing anything. So, no, it's not about Kurt and Courtney.
I think if Kurt hadn't died, you'd still be in Nirvana and never have written any of your songs that you wrote for Foo Fighters and never have gone out and done it. Like, in a way, his death liberated you in a weird sense, right?
I mean, I know that I would still be recording and writing stuff of my own. Everybody in this band goes out and does side projects.
Right.
You know, so when they come...
We went to the studio like twice. Right. So and we used everything that we recorded pretty much. So there's only a couple songs left.
And someday they'll probably come out.
Is it much more easier for you to talk with journalists about? I know that you are quite involved in the way that Nirvana is going to make a live and demos album soon.
You know, I don't know what the fuck. I think I mentioned in one interview, someone said, do you know if anyone's planning on releasing any more Nirvana stuff? And I said, probably. So then it comes out in the headlines like, Dave Grohl says Nirvana will release demos and blah, 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 blah. And it's just like, I don't know, you know? I'm not the boss. I don't know if, I mean, to be perfectly honest, there's probably 2 songs, 2 completed songs that no one's ever heard. Like, that's it. Like, there's not like hundreds and thousands. I mean, we were only a band for like, what, 5 years or something? Only went to the studio like 4, no, it's not like the Beatles anthology. So I honestly don't know, but I'm sure that in time, some more stuff will come out.
Yeah.
That's not a guarantee, but I'm sure that it will, you know?